Enjoying Life Over the Road, a community that champions adventure, innovation, and well-being.
Hello and welcome to Enjoying Life OTR. My name is Cindy Tunstall and I'm your host. Today is a part 2 of my conversation that I had with Dan Barnett. If you missed last week's show, be sure to check it out because Dan shares about a hit and run that happened to him while he was driving, and just a great story, so you won't want to miss that. Everything turned out well, but it was interesting week for him. So he shared some of the ups and downs of trucking, and he had a week, and he was really upfront sharing about some of the challenges that had happened as a result of that accident. Well, this week I really wanted to share a second episode with Dan because we really talked a lot about trucking as a whole. He shares about his past in trucking and how things have changed, some things that he observes that are happening in the industry today, and then we also kind of speculate about what's going to happen in the future of trucking. We talked a little bit about autonomous trucking and what kind of impact that's going to have on OTR drivers. So, of course, we don't know how that's going to all turn out and when that's timeframes are going to happen, but it was a great conversation. I think you're really going to enjoy the things that he shares. So we're picking up where we left off last week. So if you could join me in welcoming back Dan Barnett. Tell me a little bit about life on the road for you. So how long do you usually stay out? Like, what's your rhythm of work?
Sure. So I start out by looking for really what the most cost-effective lane is that's the farthest I can go. And last month, I did a full kind of tour of the country to find what rates we're doing in different places. And, you can always search that on these load boards, but you really don't know until the truck is sitting there and all the brokers know you're sitting there because you're like a beacon blinking on their screen,
Yeah.
And so I did that to kind of find out what's happening around the country. And then now, like this time of year, I'm chasing some of the stuff that's, $2,300 to $2,500 for, $3 a mile, that type of scenario.
Yeah.
And, this kind of brings me to the whole load board thing. And I guess at some point we'll just kind of touch on rates or whatever. But yeah, essentially that's my process. I'll start out at the house looking for, I'll search from Cartersville, Georgia to anywhere. And then I'll sort those by rate per mile. And then I look down on the dollar side until I find something that's close to $2,000. And so there's kind of this business strategy about this stuff where most people try and get their truck payment covered and their insurance and their what most folks call their nut, their monthly total expenses covered in the first 2 weeks of the month.
Yeah.
So the second 2 weeks of the month is, all net profit. And I also do that on a micro level. So I try and cover a large, usually the rates are better going away from the house the first time. That's because brokers want you as far away from home as they can get you. So I look for loads that have a great rate per mile and that are over $2,000 to start me out on the week, the first week I leave.
Yeah.
And then I'll hunt up the next load before I leave so that I can find something in that area I'm going to that's going to be also similar type of load. And then that's it. I'll let it sit until that, and that'll get me through the first week.
Well, I like that.
How I do those.
I like your strategy. Well, tell me about, you've been trucking for a long time. You talk about the way that, you used to be really a sense of honor and appreciation for you as a truck driver. And I know that COVID COVID kind of spurred that nationally. You know, we saw that again where, you know, truckers were heroes, and you were seeing those billboards and signs, and, you know, people started waving, and it just felt like nationally that there became just a real appreciation for the work that we do. How have you seen that change in, you know, ebb and flow over the years?
Oh gosh, I mean, when I first started driving, there was not really, you know, most people thought there was a stigma of truckers back then that they were just kind of these hopped up on speed, like dirty lot lizard type, you know, hanging these kind of lower class type society thing. You know, there's a giant stigma over all the truckers. And then through the 2000s, you know, the truck shows and some of these kind of more mainstream customizing of trucks and stuff, and TV shows with trucks on them and things like that kind of curbed that attitude about, you know, then you get ice road trucker stuff.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah. People kind of there's really a skill that they've got to driving those vehicles. I think that show like really changed people's perspective on appreciation of the danger, and, you know, even though most of us aren't driving on the ice, but like that, just like on like that show, but, you know, still when you're driving, I think it changed perspectives a lot.
Oh, for sure. And just to be able to see that truckers aren't like crackheads running down the road with eating speed every day, you know.
Right. Yeah.
It's just, you know, we're in the late 70s through the 80s. I think there was a big push to regulate trucking and truckers with logbooks, and then came digital logbooks now, and then came, we need to regulate the truck and the exhaust and the this and the that. And all of that, I think, spurs from these societal perceptions of drivers and so forth. But today, you know, people really, I think, see all of the things that trucks bring to their neighborhood, to their table, and they're starting to be more and more aware of how vital that is for getting goods and services places. So there's definitely, you know, especially with COVID, everybody ordering stuff online, you know, everything being hauled by truck. So that perception has definitely changed a substantial amount over the years.
Yeah, that's good. And social media, I think, is helping too. So it's like their opportunity to put some personalities behind the work. So I think that's good too.
Absolutely.
Well, Dan, I've enjoyed talking with you. Do you have anything else that you want to share with our audience before we wrap up?
I don't know if you want to touch at all on some of the kind of business stuff, or if that's for maybe another day, but
yeah, let's hit it. What you got?
I think there's a lot to be said in the trucking industry. As you know, owner-operators are individual businesses. They're business owners, and they operate primarily either from spot freight or by leasing their trucks on to other carriers that have relationships with customers already. And I know truckers know this, and maybe company drivers aren't as familiar with this, but the spot market changed drastically in February of this year. It just crashed.
Yeah, February was a big shift.
Yeah. And one of the things that happened is, and I read some stock stuff. I follow C.H. Robinson's stock because I haul through their brokerage. And so I like to know what's happening in their company to anticipate maybe some changes that are coming down the pipe. Well, one of the things that happened in the second quarter of this year is the CEO looked at all the profit that was being made on the carrier side. And their board of directors met, and somebody somewhere in their stakeholder pool decided, we don't understand. Okay, C.H. Robinson, our stocks are increasing by 2.5%, which is our annual average. We're not doing anything crazy. All these carriers, their profits are going through the roof. How is this possible? So when over the last 2 years, year and a half, everybody sees, and when I say everybody, I mean brokerages, truck stops, all the ancillary businesses that support trucking saw that carriers were really generating some good revenue. And so what they do is they say, oh, well, how can we not take advantage by it in terms of like, oh, let's get crafty and take advantage of these people. Like, how can we capitalize on these profits? And so one of the things that C.H. Robinson's CEO decided was to put a team together, figure out what they can do to kind of get their hands into some of the profits. From a business perspective, that's smart. So as an industry, we're generating like $800 billion domestically, shipping and anyway, in the trucking industry. So a small percentage of that is a lot of money. So they decided to put in place what they called their North American Ground Transportation Initiative. So, and they put some acronym on it or whatever, and they said they restructured their contracts with spot market carriers so that they could garner 20% more of what they were getting out of the carrier. Then they wanted to restructure the fuel surcharges where they were getting up to 45 to 50% of the fuel surcharges out of the customer. So once those things were adjusted and hit the load board, then, and there's a recording of this, it's an audio recording and an article on it. If you look through the history on C.H. Robinson's, if you go to Market Watch, and you can look up the article. I may be able to find a link to it or whatever, but anyway.
Yeah, send that to me. I want to hear that.
I will, for sure. It's the CEO talking about their second quarter initiatives, profit initiatives that they were putting in place, and it's fully transparent, what they're trying to do. They're not trying to be sneaky or crafty or anything. It's a large publicly traded company, and a lot of people are interested in understanding why when they see stocks go up for trucking companies that are publicly traded, but not for the brokerages, they start asking questions on why, nobody wants to invest and buy stocks in a company that may be showing signs of instability. And the only way to show stability, and if you look at C.H. Robinson stock, the only way to show stability is to show an uptick. So if you look at their stock from a 1-year view vantage point, you'll see from the beginning of the year, when it hits February, when those initiatives took place, boom, they actually increased their stock value by 60%.
Oh, wow.
Just amazing profit from making those adjustments. Now, my argument is that those adjustments are too big, and they're not long-term sustainable, because now you have owner-operators that are going under, that are trying to run the spot market.
Right.
So for someone like me, that translates to, looking for opportunities to lease on with other companies that have contracts in place where, they're paying 80% of the load plus 100% of the surcharge they're rolling over. And right now the surcharge is 64 cents a mile. So that's a big chunk.
Yeah, that's big money. Well, Dan, I appreciate you sharing that. I appreciate your insight.
We're in an exciting time for trucking. I mean, all these old timers are like, I'm getting out. I talked to a 2 million miler the other day. He had the 2 million mile star on the side of his truck, and he started driving in the 70s. And I just kind of said to him, I guess you've seen a whole lot changing in the thing. And he's like, yeah, I'm retiring next month. I just can't take all the change anymore. But, and those guys really have seen the changes, but I still love it. I mean, I still love shifting the gears, and I still love the trucks and the people who appreciate the trucking. I think the difference in the industry now is there's people who are in it for money. They don't care about the trucking part of it. They don't care about the history. Like, I love just, like, you never hear anybody talk about Montfort Lane. The Montfort Lane is the left lane, and back in the old days, they used to have these trucks called the clown trucks or circus trucks. It was before when people called those really fast trucks chicken trucks and bull haulers. Before the bull haulers and chicken haulers, there was a trucking company out of Colorado called Montfort. They ran all hopped up like Kenworths that had really fast, they were all really fast trucks, and they were painted yellow, white, and orange, and they called them circus trucks. So they were always in the left lane running 80 on 55-mile-an-hour roads. And so everybody called that lane, the left lane, the Montfort Lane. All those little sayings, I just love to just sprinkle them in when I'm talking to people and bring them back,
Yeah, so good. I love that story. So good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the history of that, and this, the stories. I mean, just people who take their trucks home, their kids run out. I mean, just those. I take my truck home, and my son, he calls it his truck, and the first thing that happens when I get home is my wife hands him up into the driver's seat and, sits there in my lap and just, pulls on the CB cord or plays with I've got a extended shifter with a little kind of skeleton head with a top hat on it, on my shifter. So it's real tall, but he plays with the shifter and, pushes all the buttons and all that. So, I mean, it's just, that's part of the experience. That's part of the lifestyle that I love.
One thing that I love about you, and I really enjoy it and want to talk to you, is like you have this appreciation of the history, but also a great business mind. So you're interested in finding new ways to continue to succeed and thrive in the industry, and also just kind of going with the flow of how the changes are, and just being willing to adapt so you can keep doing what you love. And I really like this thing. Makes a great combination of a person just really making the most of the opportunity out there. So I really appreciate those things about you.
I certainly appreciate that. It's one of those things where I really have felt, my father probably instilled some of this in me, but I really have felt that you can't be emotional with business. And so if you get to a place where you're so upset that things are changing that you're unable to change with them, then you may not be as successful keeping your business running. And a business is there's no emotions with the actual business entity is not an emotional thing. Its whole goal is to generate revenue. So if you get emotional about things, then you're going to make decisions that are emotional. And if you make emotional decisions instead of decisions based on fiscal responsibility, then your decisions aren't going to be as impactful on your bottom line. But it's also important, I will choose to, take a financial hit if I have to. If it, I'm not saying compromise your morals or the integrity of the industry to make money, but, like what some people are saying, some brokers, there's the whole adage, brokers are taking like 50% of these things, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't, I don't know. But if that were the case, that would not be a morally good thing to do, So those types of situations, I think, you have to honor the industry in those cases, and when it comes down to making business decisions, you have to be looking for the dollars.
Yeah. I've got some great news to share with you today. We've created an app, Enjoying Life OTR. It's free. Check it out wherever you get your apps. Easy to download. It's a great place for you to connect with other drivers who understand this lifestyle. A lot of truckers have shared their favorite truck stops on there, and you could even share your favorite adventures. I know we're all about making money while we're out on the road. Same for me. But every once in a while we get to do some exploring and get to enjoy some different parts of the country and just do something fun outside the truck. This will be our place to share those adventures and share our ideas, favorite rest stops, favorite food places, especially when there's truck parking available. That's always a good find. So this will be a place to share those spots with other people and even be able to check out places that other people have visited. So when we're passing through a new location, we'll be able to, find some places that are quick and easy without having to do a lot of research and find some place good to eat while we got a few minutes. Our app also has a place to listen to our most recent podcast. On the Enjoying Life OTR podcast, I'm honoring truckers and sharing their stories. I've had such a great time hearing the many ways that you all are enjoying life OTR. Every show has been very different and it's been a lot of fun, so I can't wait for you to hear. So check out our free app, Enjoying Life OTR. I can't wait to hear the many ways that you are enjoying life OTR. Hey, I want to change gears for you. I want to get your feedback on something. What do you think about the changes with the autonomous trucks coming? Do you have anything you want to say about that? I mean, it's coming for sure. I don't know what kind of time frame. I think the time frame's the only issue. What are your thoughts about when that's going to be affecting OTR drivers?
The autonomous trucks, in my understanding, will never be fully autonomous. It's essentially the next phase of the auto shift. Remove the emotional piece and the nostalgic piece of Dan Barnett is a relic of the past that loves to shift gears with a manual shift 18 speed. That's one component, fine. However, one of the reasons they started implementing auto shifts is because there was shorter learning curve and they could get truckers in seats faster. Truckers that just wanted to spin the wheels and make the dollars per mile could do so easier if they didn't have to also know how to move their feet and their hands at the same time. So, that was just a shorter learning curve to get another truck in place. And they were responding to the entire industry shortage of truckers. Here we come, the autonomous trucks. They're always going to have someone in the seat babysitting them. But the problem here is, and this has always been kind of my argument, is the more things you take away that force drivers to focus on driving, the more reps you're going to have. Now, the industry, people who don't drive a truck, they don't understand that this is a boring job if you're not shifting gears. I would argue that my 18 speed keeps me more alert because I have to choose which of the 18 gears. It's really a 24 speed because there's, 4 low and 4 in reverse or whatever. But I would argue that me picking a gear, constantly having to, even subconsciously picking a gear, keeps me more alert at what's up ahead. I'm constantly thinking, okay, I need to downshift for that hill. I don't know I'm thinking that. Like, my brain is on autopilot at this point, but that keeps me more alert. Remove that, and now you've got somebody who's like, okay, what am I going to do to stay awake? Now I don't have to shift gears. I'm going to listen to books on tape. I'm going to do there's always something that's put in place of the shifter to keep the alertness up. So I think the autonomous truck is just the next step of that, because we do have a shortage. We have an industry has a crisis of people not wanting to be truck drivers, and I think that's the autonomous truck. But I think you're still going to have people that are quote unquote truck drivers, but they're just trained on how to run an autonomous truck instead of an 18 speed.
Yeah. I think it's still pretty far off. I think looking way down the future, I think, that eventually our highway systems will change where there'll be a lane that's just for autonomous vehicles. And I was thinking about the money today. I was like, say they have to spend $250,000 more for an autonomous truck with that technology, which of course the price of technology will go down. That's the way it always happens. But they're not paying a driver's salary anymore. And then they have to replace tech support, so that kind of maybe that will balance out. But that truck can literally run 24/7. So it's like doing the math. It's like it's definitely coming from a business standpoint. As much as I hate to say that, but I think it is coming. But who knows what the time frame is, and a lot of kinks they still need to work out. But I think it may be closer than we'd like to think.
No, I agree. I think, I mean, they're already testing some of them. I don't know if you saw the video of the one that inadvertently veered to the left and crashed into the divider. They've got them out there working out the kinks, trying to get the systems to work better. I mean, they're out there.
Yeah, they've had some trucks that have already gone without a driver in the seat, have already made some lanes without the driver in the seat. I'm in Dallas, so Dallas to Houston, there's a lot of testing going on in that, down 35 and 45, and they've already had some successful trips with no driver in the seat, which is crazy.
Something happens technology-wise with one of those trucks, and it's going to be a disaster. But I will say this, that if they do something like some of those Texas is a great place to kind of explain it, because you have those long, straight stretches of road where the speed limit's like 80, and it's just, you could definitely see when you're driving down that road, okay, I could see somebody sticking an autonomous truck here and getting the freight from El Paso to, Louisiana.
Yeah.
And then
they're definitely testing in that lane. I know they are.
Yeah. So those are things that I can see. But again, I mean, I believe that there's always going to be at least a small niche of actual truck drivers that will have to deliver to custom lanes, and maybe that pool will be small enough where those lanes are paying really good, because I just don't see an autonomous truck running like the Catskills or, some of these mountainous regions in the winter, it's just not,
it's hard
the truck's not going to be able to anticipate stuff.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add before we close up? I really like the things you shared.
No, I think that's it. I hope everybody really stays safe out there. If you see Music City Transport rolling down the road, give me a honk honk or a wave. We're all family out here trying to just make a living.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, take care, Dan. I sure appreciate you taking the time for me today, and I'm glad you're getting your truck all fixed up and back on the road making some big money.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on this journey. I'm enjoying talking to truckers and getting to share their stories with you, and I hope you're enjoying them as well. If you could, do me a favor, leave us a review where you listen to your podcast. That's a great way for other drivers to find out about our show and to be able to join our network. I want you all to join our network at EnjoyingLifeOTR. We have an app. It's free. It's a social network that's designed just for truckers and a place for us to share our favorite stops and connect with other drivers who understand the lifestyle, and just a way for us to meet other people who are enjoying life OTR. So check it out, Enjoying Life OTR app. It's all free and easy to download. I'd look forward to connecting with you there. Well, thanks so much for coming along on the journey. I sure do appreciate all that you do, and be safe out there and enjoy the journey.